What happens when the most trusted face becomes the greatest danger? For Kasimo, it was just an ordinary day. Coming home from school, playing with friends, a neighbor's warm, friendly smile. But behind that smile hid a dark secret. It was waiting to shatter his innocence. As the story unfolds, every moment will make your heart race. It will leave you with one haunting question. Is there always light behind a smile? Or sometimes a deep darkness hiding within? Watch this heart-touching story till the end. Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to SJ Tales for more powerful and inspiring tales. Kasimo, a bright and curious 10-year-old, had always loved football, stories, and laughter. But his laughter was often drowned by the loneliness of coming home to an empty house. His parents were hardworking, successful entrepreneurs, running a bustling shop in the heart of the town. But their love for Kasimo, although deep, was often expressed in the sacrifices they made for him, working tirelessly to provide him a comfortable life. Every day, Kasimo returned home from school to an empty house. The silence was deafening. "I hate being alone," he whispered to himself, wishing that his parents could spend more time with him. But he understood their struggles. They always reminded him, "It's just a few hours, my son. We work so you can have the best education, the best life." Mrs. Etten, one evening, decided to ease Kasimo's burden. "How about you stay with Aunt Sania after school? She'll take good care of you until we're home." Aunt Sania, their neighbor, was a young woman in her late 20s, always cheerful, with a smile that could light up a room. Kasimo knew her well. She often gave him treats and looked out for him. It seemed harmless, even comforting, so Kasimo agreed. Aunt Sania's house was small, but cozy. She always greeted him with a plate of food and an open heart. "How was school today, Kasimo?" she asked, her voice like a gentle melody. At first, Kasimo felt a little shy, but her warmth and the funny stories she shared made him feel like part of her family. The days he spent at her house began to feel like an escape from his own loneliness. One day, Aunt Sania surprised him with a special gift, a brand new football. "You're like the little brother I never had," she said, her voice full of affection. Kasimo's heart swelled with gratitude. He hugged her tightly, feeling special for the first time in a while. But this was just the beginning. As the days passed, something about Aunt Sania's kindness started to feel off. One afternoon, after finishing his homework, Kasimo sat on the couch, his heart beating faster than usual. Aunt Sania sat down beside him, her eyes gleaming with a strange intensity. "Let's play a special game, just for us," she whispered. "It's our secret. Don't tell anyone." Kasimo didn't fully understand, but he trusted Aunt Sania. He thought it was just another game, like the ones he played with his friends. But as the game unfolded, the atmosphere shifted. The touch, the words, everything felt wrong. It was different, and Kasimo felt a chill creeping over him. "I don't like this game," he said, his voice trembling. Aunt Sania smiled, but it wasn't the same smile. It was cold, almost manipulative. "Don't worry, Kasimo. You'll understand soon," she said softly. But Kasimo didn't want to understand. He didn't want to feel the way he was feeling, scared, confused, trapped. As the days went by, Kasimo began to dread going to Aunt Sania's house. At night, he would wake up to find his bed wet, a recurring nightmare from his childhood that he thought he had left behind. He felt ashamed, scared to tell anyone. What was happening to him? Why couldn't he stop it? At school, Kasimo's teacher noticed the change in him. He was no longer the lively, energetic boy she once knew. His smile had faded, and his eyes, once full of mischief, were now clouded with sadness. "Kasimo, is everything okay?" she asked gently, her voice filled with concern. After class, Mrs. Nina pulled Kasimo aside, sensing something was deeply wrong. "You can talk to me, Kasimo. Whatever it is, I'm here for you." Tears welled up in Kasimo's eyes. He had held it in for so long, but now, he couldn't keep the secret anymore. His voice cracked as he whispered, "It's Aunt Sania, she makes me feel uncomfortable." The words poured out of him like a flood, and for the first time in what felt like forever, he felt heard. Mrs. Nina's face softened with compassion. "Kasimo, thank you for being so brave," she said, wrapping her arms around him in a comforting embrace. "This is not your fault. I'll make sure you get the help you need." Kasimo's heart skipped a beat. Could he really trust someone? Mrs. Nina took immediate action, informing the school counselor and the principal. The Ettons were called in, and when they learned the truth, their world crumbled. They felt as if they had failed their son. "We should have listened to you earlier," Mr. Etten said, his voice shaking with regret. Mrs. Etten held Kasimo tightly, vowing, "We'll make sure you're safe from now on." The police were called, and Aunt Sania was arrested. The facade of the kind, smiling neighbor crumbled, revealing the darkness she had been hiding. The entire neighborhood was shocked. No one had ever imagined that the woman who always seemed so loving could harbor such secrets. The Ettons began to prioritize Kasimo's emotional well-being, adjusting their schedules so that someone was always home when he returned from school. They took him to a counselor who helped him process the trauma. Slowly but surely, Kasimo began to heal. His bedwetting stopped, and he returned to the world he loved, playing football with his friends, laughing, and smiling again. One day, Kasimo approached Mrs. Nina at school. His face was different now, stronger, more confident. "Thank you for helping me," he said, his voice steady. Mrs. Nina smiled warmly, her eyes filled with pride. "You're a brave young man, Kasimo. And you've taught us all an important lesson." Kasimo had learned the most important lesson of his young life. No matter how scary or confusing things might seem, it is always okay to speak up when something feels wrong. There are people who will listen, protect, and fight for you. And in the end, love, trust, and courage will always triumph over fear.